Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is Tom. Sorry for the bad audio here. This is this computer that I just cannot seem to get good audio on one way or the other. And so I decided rather than trying my microphone, I decided I'd try the integrated speakers on my webcam because I think that it gets a little bit better, possibly slightly better audio quality there. So we're just going to do just a little bit of final walkthrough on the Enlightenment desktop. I'm about done with Enlightenment. I'm going to move back to my KDE desktop for this production computer, just for several reasons. I think that the Enlightenment desktop has awesome potential, but it feels like it's an alpha release. In fact, I remember Ubuntu 16 in the alpha seemed to be a lot more stable than this. Not that I'm a stranger to alpha programs. I actually put the Skype alpha client on here, Skype for Linux alpha client on here, and that's a horrible train wreck. You can talk when it doesn't crash. It crashed once on my test call. I can't show desktops. I can't see desktops. Anytime you start a video call, your camera crashes, and so I was having issues with that. That's kind of briefly on the Skype thing. Why am I using Skype? Well, because I'm a web developer, and the vastest majority of my clients use Skype, so I kind of got to go where the people are. So what I want to do here for this is I changed the theme to a lighter desktop theme. I really like the dark one. That was the big bonus for me. I just thought it was really awesome looking. Just because I like those darks and those greens. Then that was the default theme, the previous videos that I had. But I wanted to go with a lighter theme just to show you that it does actually exist. There are some modern UI type themes on here. I was trying to figure out how to install extra desktop themes. I could not really get those working. And I haven't played a whole lot with it. And that's kind of the next reason I really want to go back to the KDE is the desktop here does not seem nearly as customizable. Now, there's options to customize things. But most of them I couldn't figure out how to use. So obviously the wallpapers, you can adjust your wallpapers without a big deal. So there's a decent amount of things in here that you can work through. Let me just see if I can find something real quick that might match. Let's go with that. I'm trying to stick with something light. Now, one of the problems I encountered is many times making adjustments to the themes would actually crash the system. That's light, but it's pretty ugly. But anyway, that part works. You can change your application theme defaults over here, so you can do your GTK applications and changing your icons over here. I did not attempt to install these. I assume it's probably just like installing them other places. Download the icon packs, color packs, style packs, and import them into the proper folders, and then they should appear on this list. I did not actually mess with that, but let's go ahead and apply this. Let's make sure nothing's going to go on here. And then here, now this I'm pretty sure if I try and reset the application themes, this is one of those things that seems to crash the desktop a lot, so I'm not actually going to change those. The themes, this one definitely crashes the desktop when it'll just kind of reboot, and I don't want to do that, but here there's actually really, it looks like 4 themes. They're actually, the top 2 are kind of the same, and the bottom 2 are kind of the same. So there's really only 2 desktop themes imported here. Now, as I was downloading some desktop themes to see if you could actually import more, I ran into this funny problem. So here's one of the themes I downloaded. There is no GUI archive manager on here at all. In fact, there was no archive manager at all. I installed on RAR through the terminal, but it's kind of weird to me that a basic function and then now we have a system crash. Okay, it says it's still recording, so we're going to run with it. I just kind of got a system crash, and that's kind of the thing that's happening. I'm getting a whole lot of system crashiness going on. It just seems like a very unstable system to me, and And that's kind of the reason I want to move back. I did not even attempt to do a project on this. When I wanted to do the KDE, I actually did a full complete web development project on there just to see how the workflow works. And while KDE is not the best for my workflow, it worked. It caused me to change some things, readjust a little bit of thinking, which is good because I think we should always be readjusting our thinking when we can. This Enlightenment desktop, though, I could not figure out how I could possibly get a workflow going. I could not find a Windows switcher. The closest I could find is I added a hot corner to the top where I can go down here, select which window I want to go to, and then switch to the active window. That's a hot corner, or I guess what you'd call a hot corner, hot edge in this case. So you can set something to the edges and to the corners through the settings. And that was up here under, let's see, it was under import. So here's your edge bindings. So you can add an edge binding by selecting on which one of these options here. So if we want to add an edge binding down here, hit apply. And then now I can come down here and it's waiting for something. So if I want to toggle the calendar, hit OK. Now when I come down to the bottom, it should toggle my calendar. Now this poses another challenge. Clicking doesn't get rid of that stupid calendar. It's got to go over here and click right over directly on here. So like this window up here, if I click anywhere, it goes away, which is nice. But this guy here, not quite so much. Coloration here, I mean, I'm looking at this theme here. There's some coloration, something behind the clock icons down here. But anyway, you can do your edge bindings here. You can do your key bindings here. One of the things I could not get working, no matter what, is I could not get my Win key to activate my application menu. Now there is, for KDE, you use the K super key function, which maps, I think it's Alt F1 or Control F1. I think it's Alt F1. It maps Alt F1 to just depressing the Win key, actually depressing and releasing. So you can still use it as a meta key like it's supposed to be, but just clicking merely that will pull up the application menu. I set that up on my KDE system because I use that a lot. That's why I like the Windows platform, is I can very quickly hit the Windows key and then just go right into my menu where I need to be for each individual item. And that's kind of that workflow that I look for. That's why the Cinnamon desktop is so powerful for me, because I can set up with that same workflow. And that's kind of why the Mac computer is not as powerful for my workflow. There's just too many issues with that. But I'm finding a lot of the similar issues here. Even my bottom bar here is not a task bar or a panel bar like it is on a Cinnamon or even on my KDE. This is actually a dock. Now I've expanded it so that it fits the whole screen. I've thrown all my applications on one side and what you might call your system tray type items on the other side, but even these aren't true system tray items. If I load up Skype, for example, which I'm not going to do because I'm not sure how that's going to interfere with my camera. If you load Skype up and I can close it out, it never really goes away. It's kind of like the problem you had with Skype on Windows 7. If you remember, prior to Windows 7, you could have Skype open, you could close the window, and you don't have it anywhere on the taskbar, but it's down in your system tray. Well, it's kind of like that. It just kind of stays at the bottom. Well, I can put it on the system tray on Linux Mint. I can put it on the system tray on KDE and on Ubuntu even. Let's see, Ubuntu. Yeah, even on Ubuntu, it'll be in my quote-unquote system tray up there, the top right of the screen. But here you really can't do that, and so I ran into a lot of those types of issues. I couldn't show all the windows or minimize the windows. At least I've not been able to find a way after searching for an hour. So I couldn't do what I like to do on all my computers: go down to the bottom right corner, click the button, and show my desktop, because I like to work off the desktop. So another one of the defaults. This was really annoying to me. One of the defaults here is there was an edge binding over here on the edges, on the right and on the left edge, and it would flip the desktop. I think it was flip desktop. And this ran into a serious problem for me. I think I have it turned back on, where when I throw on a movie, and what I always do is I just throw the mouse off to the corner somewhere because I don't want the mouse cursor on the screen. Well, you throw the mouse over the corner, and it switched desktops just like that. Hopefully you saw that. So, and now I got to come back. Of course, there's I don't have the hot corner or the hot edge going back yet. So it actually took me a little bit to figure out that was actually an edge binding. I figured it was an edge binding, but it wasn't consistent. It wasn't like I threw the thing over there and it'd work. It was very weird. I'm going to actually take out the bottom left calendar edge as well. So if you are interested in all your hot corners, edge bindings, that does seem to work very well. Get my calendar right here. I don't know what that's doing there. Okay. You can do your key bindings here, which will highlight your various keys, so you can hit your meta there. Okay, you can do some mouse bindings for what do all the different buttons do. So there is some customizability. I just ran into some problems where I couldn't seem to customize things as much as I wanted. For example, the colors. If I want to change my colors, there's this, if I can, okay, that's another bug. Occasionally I get that happening. So here, if I want to change the color of something, I get this bar here, which I don't see how to use this. No matter how much I set, nothing seems to take anywhere. And so it was like, it's like there's a lot of customizations, but it seems like that's pretty incomplete in many places. So definitely a fun desktop, definitely a cool desktop, definitely a desktop with a lot of potential, but not a desktop that I think is ready, at least not for me to use as a resource, as a regular daily driver. I gotta say though, media works way better on this than my KDE. As I noted on my KDE that that I would run into some issues with. I was running into some issues with every about 5-10 minutes or so. I'd get just a little barely noticeable blip in the audio, whether it was a file directly on the computer or whether it was streaming. So something catching up in the graphics. Well, this is the same exact computer. In fact, the other computer's running on a hard drive. This computer's running on a flash drive. Now, it might be just an old, bad, slow, dying hard drive. That is a distinct possibility. That being said, however, I do not have any of those delay lags at all on this system. And the next thing that I find fascinating is that there's this presentation mode, which is my biggest problem on KDE. I cannot get caffeine to work. I cannot set the thing to, okay, desktop, or like screensaver, disable screen, just stop for a while. I can't turn it on. Ubuntu works great. I have caffeine installed. If I want the thing to not go into screensaver, I go up to the top to my task manager. I right-click on the caffeine, I hit enable, and boom, the thing will never go into, it'll never shut off the screen until I go up and I turn that off. Okay? The problem is, there is well, on KDE the problem is that doesn't work. You can activate it or deactivate it, it doesn't work. But on this system, there is a thing called presentation mode, which is turned on. I can't turn it off. So I can't say, okay, I'm not doing any video. I'm not doing anything where I want the screensaver out. I want to go out and do something else somewhere else. I can't just sit down and turn the thing off so that the thing will go into a screen-saving mode. There's really no task manager, so I can't find any of those such programs. Now, I can set like a hotkey or a hot corner to toggle the presentation mode on or off, so there is a solution. There's just not a real good, clean GUI solution to do it. I already talked about there's a lot of crashes. I already talked about you can't stack the windows. Oh, low resources. What I was talking about there, I was thinking system resources. That's been running pretty fine. What I'm talking there with system resources, low resources means that if I have a question about the Enlightenment desktop, there's really not a big following in the system, a lot of people to help. If I'm having an issue with Unity on Ubuntu or with Cinnamon or with even KDE or GNOME, there are a lot of help forums out there that will help me to figure out what the settings should be. And so you get that kind of thing going. That's here. If I have a question, I can't really find a good solution. No GUI software installer is a big thing. So I just hit the Windows key to try and open the application menu. Nope, that doesn't work. So the best I can do for installing software, and I think I've already talked about this on my other videos, is you can come down here and you can install/remove software. Now you get this ugly thing that seems kind of out of place, this bash command prompt for your password. It just seems a little weird for an operating system as advanced as this to have this. And then it stays on the screen. And if I close this, the whole thing crashes out. So I got to keep that password blip on the screen. And now what we have is we have a package manager that I like. It's just like the semantic package manager. But the problem is I really don't have a good package manager as far as seeing what's out there or searching for things. If I'm going to do a search and say, what Office programs are there? I really can't search and browse in a graphical user interface manner to find packages. I kind of have to know what I'm looking for. And that's kind of a big disadvantage for people new to Linux. Like, you get on Ubuntu, you get on Cinnamon, you have a package manager, and you could spend hours. Just remember the first time you picked up a smartphone, you got an app store. Whoa, apps. And then you're playing with apps, you're seeing what they do, and it provided a great user experience. You download some apps that were great, you downloaded some apps that sucked. You figured out, though, that there are ways to do things. You cannot do that on this desktop. And I think, actually, this isn't just an Enlightenment issue. This is more of an OpenSUSE issue, in that I really have to know which packages I'm looking for in order to find things. So I can come over here and say Office, and I can click on this button here, but this really is not helpful information for me. Okay, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Versus if you go and look at Ubuntu or Cinnamon or I think does KDE? Yeah, I think the KDE also has a desktop. I can't remember actually off the top. But having access to the package manager is a really great thing, and that's, I think, one of those things that we need to do, especially if we're saying, hey, this is going to be a system that is for a new user. So overall, Enlightenment, do I like it? I do. It's a neat system. It's definitely a fun system to play around on. I like how it looks. I like how it interacts. I like kind of the feel of it in a way. However, there are parts that kind of seem old school to me, that these windows up here don't look nearly as good as down here. Like down here on this bar here, oh, these are awesome how this works. I love the icons on here, just the basic icons. Although there is, if you notice over here where Firefox in the menu is, you'll see a little clash down. I think my browser just crashed. Am I back? I think I crashed. I'm not completely sure. But if you look down here, you can see where looks like the Firefox and the main application menu over here are kind of overlapping a little bit. So there's a few things like that seem a little out of place. I think we're getting a little system instability here. I'm going to close this out. Hopefully. Yeah, this is kind of some of the stuff I'm talking about, I mean, I just click to close the button, and it's not closing for me. Like, Yast should be totally closing right now. I have no idea why it's still in my way. I'm just going to minimize it. So that's kind of my take. I think everything on this, I think the whole system's frozen. If you can hear me, awesome, you can hear me. If you can't, I think my system is totally just crashed out on me and kerplumped. Well then, this is why I'm not using Enlightenment. I hope I can restore this system without having to re-record the entire video. That'd kind of make me mad. Anyway, don't use Enlightenment. This has been Tom. Okay, now I'm carrying around my viewer. Ha! Go away. Am I still recording? Huh. Says it's still recording. Okay, I'm not sure what happened in the middle of all that blurb. If you got recorded on that or whatever else. I just had a total desktop freeze. Looks like I got another one now. No, maybe not. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to stop this recording now. Hey, get another pseudo livey type video. I just really want to show you the truth of some of the systems. I do not hate this desktop. I think it's pretty cool. This is definitely the most stuff I've run all at once, so probably that could be leading to some of the instability I'm finding. But overall, Enlightenment's kind of neat, but I'm going to go back to my KDE today while things are still moving around. This has been Tom. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Just don't switch to Enlightenment unless you're an advanced user.